Why Israel demanded a king, the crisis before Talut Islamic history. Part 1. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Tonight we arrive at one of the most important turning points in the history of the children of Israel. A story that was never truly about a throne, never truly about a crown, and never simply about choosing a king. Instead, it is the story of a nation that slowly lost its unity. A nation surrounded by enemies. A nation searching for strength. And a nation that believed the answer was a powerful ruler. But was a king really the solution? Or was the real crisis hidden somewhere much deeper? Before we begin, imagine this. Imagine waking every morning wondering whether your village will still be standing by sunset. Imagine hearing the sound of enemy soldiers before hearing the laughter of children. Imagine farmers afraid to harvest their own crops, merchants too frightened to travel, families forced to sleep with weapons beside their doors. Now imagine something even worse. Your enemies are becoming stronger every year, but your own people cannot even agree among themselves. Every tribe argues. Every family blames another. Every leader speaks only for his own people. There is no unity, no common direction, no single voice. If you lived in such a nation, what would you ask for? A stronger army? Better weapons? A mighty king? This is where our story begins. Not on a battlefield, not inside a royal palace, but inside the troubled hearts of a people searching for hope. Many years had passed since Allah granted victory to the children of Israel under the leadership of Yusha bin Nun Joshua alayhi salam. The promised land had become their home. The generation that crossed the wilderness had disappeared. A new generation had inherited the blessings of their ancestors. Fields were cultivated. Cities expanded. Families prospered. Children grew up without remembering slavery in Egypt, without remembering the 40 years in the wilderness, without remembering the miracles of Moses alayhi salam. And as often happens throughout history, comfort slowly replaced gratitude. The memories of hardship faded. The urgency of worship weakened. The fear of Allah became less visible in many hearts. It happened gradually, almost unnoticed. No nation abandons its principles overnight. Decline begins with small compromises. One neglected command, one forgotten lesson, one excuse after another, until the exception becomes the norm. This was exactly what happened among many of the children of Israel. They still believed in Allah. They still remembered the names of the prophets. But belief without complete obedience began to spread. Some became attracted to the customs of neighboring nations. Others admired foreign traditions. Many became more concerned with worldly success than spiritual guidance. The result was inevitable. Unity weakened. Justice became inconsistent. Faith became fragile. The tribes, once united under righteous leadership, slowly drifted apart. Each tribe focused on its own interests, its own land, its own security, its own prosperity. The idea of one united nation became weaker with every passing year, and while the children of Israel were becoming divided, their enemies were becoming united. Among all those enemies, one nation inspired more fear than any other. The Philistines. They possessed experienced warriors, disciplined armies, powerful weapons, strong fortresses. Their leaders understood something the children of Israel had forgotten. A divided nation is an easy nation to conquer. At first, the attacks were small. A village near the border, a caravan on an isolated road, a farming community far from the larger towns. The raids came unexpectedly. By the time help arrived, the enemy had already disappeared. Families mourned, homes burned, livestock vanished, harvests were stolen. Then the attacks increased. More villages, more destruction, more fear. Entire communities began abandoning their homes. Merchants refused to travel long distances. Trade declined. Food became scarce in some regions. People whispered the same question wherever they gathered. What has happened to us? Weren't we the nation Allah once honored? Weren't we the people of Musa alayhi salam? Weren't we the descendants of those who crossed the sea? The elders knew the answer. Their greatest weakness was not outside. It was inside. The nation had become spiritually weak before it became militarily weak. Because every prophet had taught the same lesson. Victory begins in the heart before it appears on the battlefield. Yet many people preferred easier explanations. If only we had more soldiers. If only we had stronger weapons. If only we had a king. That last idea spread faster than anyone expected. A king? The neighboring nations all had kings, visible rulers, permanent leaders, powerful commanders. When war began, their people followed one command, one strategy, one authority. The children of Israel, however, relied on tribal elders and judges who appeared only during particular times. Many believed that system no longer suited their circumstances. Conversations filled every marketplace. Travelers discussed it on dusty roads. Families debated it around evening fires. Perhaps what they truly needed was one man, one leader, one king. Not everyone agreed. Some righteous believers warned that the real problem was not leadership. The real problem was obedience to Allah. They reminded the people of the victories granted during the days of Musa alayhi salam. They reminded them that Allah had split the sea without requiring an earthly king. They reminded them of Yusha alayhi salam, whose success came through faith before military strength. But fear often speaks louder than wisdom. As the Philistine threat increased, calls for a king became impossible to ignore. Finally, representatives from every tribe gathered together. Their meeting would become one of the most significant political moments in the history of the children of Israel. Old men spoke. Warriors shared reports from the borders. Merchants described collapsing trade. Farmers explained how difficult life had become. Every discussion ended with the same conclusion. Our nation cannot continue like this. We need permanent leadership. We need someone who can unite every tribe. We need someone who can lead us into battle. But there remained one question. Who possessed the authority to appoint such a leader? There was only one man. The Prophet of Allah, Shamwil alayhi salam, a man respected throughout every tribe, a man known for wisdom, patience, justice, and unwavering faith. The elders agreed. They would approach him. They would present their request. And perhaps history itself was about to change. Yet Shamwil alayhi salam already understood something his people did not. He knew that asking for a king was easy. Obeying that king would be much harder, and the greatest test had not yet begun. To be continued in Part 2. Why Israel demanded a king, the crisis before Talut, Islamic history. Part 2. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back. In Part 1, we witnessed the growing crisis that gripped the children of Israel. The tribes had become divided. Their enemies had become stronger. Their faith had weakened, and fear had spread throughout the land. Now, the elders of Israel had reached a decision. They would ask Allah's prophet, Shamwil alayhi salam, to appoint a king who could unite the nation. It sounded like the perfect solution. But Allah does not judge as human beings judge. And before a king could be chosen, the sincerity of the people themselves would be tested. The elders arrived before Shamwil alayhi salam with great respect. They explained the suffering of the nation, the repeated attacks by the Philistines, the fear that filled their villages, the divisions among the tribes. Then they made the request that would change their history forever. Appoint for us a king so that we may fight in the cause of Allah. It was not an unreasonable request. Many neighboring nations possessed kings, strong rulers, permanent commanders, men who united their people during war. From a worldly perspective, the children of Israel believed they needed the same. But Shamwil alayhi salam did not answer immediately. As a prophet of Allah, he knew his people well. He had witnessed their history. He had seen promises made with enthusiasm, only to be forgotten when sacrifice became necessary. He looked at them and asked a question that penetrated every heart. What if fighting is prescribed for you and then you refuse? For a moment, silence filled the gathering. The question forced everyone to examine their own intentions. Did they truly seek Allah's pleasure, or did they simply seek safety? The elders answered confidently, Why should we not fight in the cause of Allah while we have been driven from our homes and separated from our families? Their words sounded sincere. Their determination appeared genuine. They believed they were ready to sacrifice, ready to obey, ready to defend their nation. Yet Allah knows what lies within every heart. And history would soon reveal that sincere words are easier than sincere actions. Then the command of Allah came. Their request would be granted. A king would indeed be appointed, but not according to wealth, not according to family lineage, not according to political influence, according to Allah's wisdom alone. Soon, Shamwil alayhi salam gathered the people. Everyone waited with anticipation. Some expected one of the wealthy tribal leaders. Others imagined a famous warrior. Many believed leadership belonged only to noble families. Then the Prophet announced Allah's choice, Talut, known in English as Saul. For a moment, complete silence filled the crowd. Then whispers spread everywhere. Talut? How can Talut become our king? He is not wealthy. He is not from the most prestigious family. Many openly questioned the decision. According to the Qur'an, they said, how can he have kingship over us while we are more deserving of kingship than him? And he has not been given abundant wealth? Their reaction revealed a problem far greater than politics. They still measured people according to worldly standards. Wealth, status, fame, family. But Allah measures differently. Through His Prophet, Allah answered their objections. Indeed, Allah has chosen him over you and has increased him abundantly in knowledge and physical strength. What a remarkable lesson! Allah did not mention riches. He did not mention noble ancestry. He mentioned knowledge, strength, and divine selection. Because true leadership is built upon character before power, knowledge before authority, faith before influence. Still, some people remained uncertain. Human beings often struggle to accept decisions that differ from their expectations. So Allah granted them a miraculous sign, a sign that no sincere believer could deny. Shamwil alayhi salam informed them that the ark, the blessed Tabut, associated with Musa, Moses alayhi salam, and Harun, Aaron, alayhi salam, would return to them. This sacred ark contained precious reminders connected to earlier prophets and had long been regarded as a symbol of Allah's support. Its return would confirm beyond doubt that Talut had been chosen by Allah Himself. And exactly as Allah promised, the ark returned. The people watched in amazement. Doubts disappeared. Hearts softened. Many who had objected now accepted the decision, not because Talut had become wealthier, not because his family had changed, but because Allah had made the truth clear. Slowly, the tribes gathered beneath one banner. For the first time in many years, unity began returning. Hope returned. Confidence returned. The nation that had nearly fallen apart was beginning to stand again. Yet Talut understood that a crown alone could not save a nation. Real victory would require discipline, obedience, sacrifice, and complete trust in Allah. Soon, preparations for war began. Messengers traveled across the land. Young men answered the call. Warriors gathered from every tribe. Thousands volunteered to defend their people. Many spoke courageously. Many believed victory would come easily. But Allah intended to separate those who merely spoke about faith from those who truly possessed it. A great test was approaching. A test that would reduce a large army to only a small group of sincere believers. Among those believers stood a young shepherd, unknown to most people. A humble young man named Dawud David alayhi salam. No one imagined that this young believer would soon defeat the mightiest warrior of his age. No one imagined that Allah was preparing him to become both a prophet and a king. History was about to change once again. But before the giant named Jalut Goliath appeared, before the famous battle began, before Dawud alayhi salam stepped onto the battlefield, Allah first taught His people an unforgettable lesson. Victory is never guaranteed by numbers. It is never guaranteed by wealth. It is never guaranteed by powerful weapons. Victory belongs only to those who sincerely place their trust in Allah. Thus ended the crisis that led the children of Israel to seek a king. It was not merely the beginning of Talut's reign. It was the beginning of a new chapter in sacred history, a chapter that would witness one of the greatest battles ever remembered. The battle between Talut and Jalut, the rise of Dawud alayhi salam, and the fulfillment of Allah's promise through those whose faith remained steadfast. But that is the story of our next episode, to be continued. Next episode? The first king Talut Saul as Jalut Goliath, and the rise of Dawud David as Islamic history. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.